The moment J.D. Vance pulled out a stack of government documents on live television, he didn't just challenge Senator Ed Markey. He exposed 49 years of broken promises that would bring down one of Washington's most powerful figures. It started as a routine Sunday morning segment on Meet the Press. The studio lights burned bright as Senator Ed Markey, a Washington fixture for nearly half a century, settled into his chair across from Vice President J.D. Vance. A hush fell over the audience of reporters, cameras, and producers. Everyone braced for polite political debate. Then, without warning, Markey leaned forward, eyes blazing with contempt. "You, J.D. Vance, are the worst vice president this country has ever seen. Clueless and worse, complicit in covering up the last administration's failures. The American people deserve better than this circus." Gasps rippled through the studio. The moderator blinked twice, searching for order. But the true shock came when Vance, calm and unflinching, locked eyes with Markey. He waited. Then, in a voice as measured as a surgeon's scalpel, he began. "Senator," Vance said quietly, "you've served in office for 49 years. 49 years of speeches, press conferences, and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. What real results can you point to?" The studio fell silent. Vance continued, his voice unwavering. "Crumbling roads in Boston, underfunded schools across your state, opioid deaths that doubled on your watch. Meanwhile, you've been collecting paychecks in Washington. Where's the return on investment for the American people?" Markey attempted a dismissive chuckle, a sound that would haunt him for the rest of his career. Vance's tone hardened. "I have government audits, watchdog reports, internal memos. All of them trace a paper trail of funds you diverted from housing, education, and public health." He paused, letting the weight settle. 15 years, $24 billion in federal development grants, yet not a single low-income housing project completed under your oversight. Where did the money go? The moderator's jaw dropped. Markey's confident facade cracked. His hands began to tremble as he tried to interject. But Vance raised a finger. "No interruptions. You had your turn. This is my moment to speak truth." Americans watching at home sensed the weight of history unfolding. Vance slid a thick stack of documents onto the desk. Government audits, internal evaluations, contracts, evidence as irrefutable as fingerprints at a crime scene. His voice rose with conviction. "In just 5 months as vice president, I've helped restore 80,000 American jobs, passed the Veteran Dignity Act, and funded mental health initiatives in 22 states. Senator, you spent decades behind podiums, making empty promises. I spent mine delivering results." Markey's color shifted to ashen gray. He opened his mouth, but no words emerged. The studio audience erupted in gasps, applause, and murmurs of disbelief. Phones recorded every second. Vance leaned in, his voice dropping to icy precision. "You didn't come here to debate policy. You came to cover your tracks. But I have the documents right here." He lifted a folder with trembling fingers. A 2018 audit shows $174 million allocated for Massachusetts infrastructure. Only $4 million reached the actual projects. That's a 98% disappearance under your direct oversight. The studio fell dead silent. Reporter hands quivered behind every camera lens. Markey's staff blinked rapidly off camera. The political establishment had never witnessed such a public reckoning. Then Vance shifted tone, not to gloat, but to connect with everyday Americans watching. "My grandfather worked in a steel mill for 42 years. He died with empty pockets but a wealthy spirit. He never asked for handouts, just honesty from those in power. That promise is why I serve." In living rooms across America, viewers wept. A mother in Pittsburgh texted her son, "He speaks for us." A veteran in Phoenix saluted his television. Even critics paused in stunned reflection. Markey's voice cracked as he tried one last desperate defense. "This is a political stunt." But Vance cut him off, calm yet resolute. "I will release every document tonight. If a single line is false, I will resign tomorrow." A collective inhale swept across the network. Markey slumped in his chair. His prepared talking points lay useless on the desk. The live audience waited, breathless. The moderator, regaining his composure, asked directly, "Senator Markey, Do you categorically deny these allegations? Markey's shoulders dropped. He nodded once, defeated. That single nod proved more damning than any denial. Within minutes, the internet ignited. Vance exposes Markey trended on Twitter. TikTok filled with reaction videos showing tears of relief and righteous indignation. Democratic and Republican voices alike spoke of accountability finally arriving in Washington. But the moment that defined the night came when an elderly veteran in the audience slowly rose. His weathered face bore the lines of decades of disappointment. A navy pin gleamed on his lapel. The camera found him. Vance nodded respectfully. The man's voice trembled as he addressed Markey directly. Senator, in 1997, you promised to fix our VA hospital in Fall River. My wife died waiting for treatment. My trust died with her. His voice broke, then strengthened. But tonight, Vice President Vance gave me something I haven't had in years. Truth. Thank you. The studio erupted again. Tears streamed down the veteran's weathered cheeks. The audience stood and saluted him, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as fellow Americans. That unscripted moment of unity, broadcast live, reached 60 million views within hours. Backstage, Markey's phone buzzed nonstop. His campaign manager texted bluntly, "It's over. Resign." Yet no public farewell followed. Instead, the next morning, a plain white envelope arrived at the Senate clerk's desk. Markey's resignation, effective immediately. I accept responsibility for years of failed promises. Church bells rang across Massachusetts, not in celebration, but in solemn farewell to an era of neglect. News anchors read Markey's brief statement aloud, their voices choked with disbelief at how quickly a political titan had fallen. Vance issued a measured response. I didn't come to destroy a career. I came to defend the forgotten Americans suffering in silence. 24 hours after the debate, Vance returned to the Meet the Press studio. He took his seat, modest but determined. The moderator asked, "What do you hope people remember from yesterday?" Vance paused, then spoke with quiet conviction. Truth isn't cruel, it's healing. It often hurts first, but it sets us free. Yesterday, we stood for accountability. That's what I want America to hold on to. That night, Vance walked home to his wife Usha and their children. No triumphant fanfare, just the embrace of family. Are you okay, Dad? His son asked. Vance smiled, tears in his eyes, and replied simply, I'm home. Letters piled on their kitchen table, handwritten notes from miners, teachers, mothers, and veterans. Each one spoke of pain, betrayal, and now hope. Vance read them all, reminded that true leadership isn't measured in longevity, but in the courage to speak uncomfortable truths. In the weeks that followed, town halls sprang up nationwide, spaces for citizens to share their suppressed stories. Americans united not by party affiliation, but by renewed trust in transparent governance. Senator Ed Markey's absence from the public stage was deafening. The man who once walked the unchallenged halls of power had been replaced by a movement demanding genuine service. In the annals of American politics, this confrontation will be remembered not for the clash of egos, but for the triumph of truth. For one quiet moment when a vice president didn't just win a debate, he restored hope to a broken nation. And in kitchens across America, families gathered around tables, finally believing again that their voices could be heard and their leaders could be held accountable.